Welcome to the Top Choice Empowerment Show, where host Howard White will teach, inspire, motivate, and most of all, empower you. Now here's your host, Howard White.
Well, welcome to the Top Choice Empowerment Hour. My name is Howard White. I'm your host for the next 60 minutes, the next hour. Top Choice Empowerment Hour is a show designed to hopefully teach you a little bit, inspire you, motivate you, but most of all, empower you. Empower you to be the best person that you can be. You know, yesterday I had an interesting interaction. I was at a lunch and learn. Councilman Edwards and Tyra Banks put on every month, actually, the third Monday of the month, over at Delmont Service Center. But it was an interaction I had. It just made me realize that I'm continually walking in my purpose. I met someone that I known her family for years, and just the things that she shared with me, and you never know what people are thinking. But the main thing as I talk to her, and I share this for a reason, because this is what I truly believe as I walk in my purpose and in my passion, is that I ask God to allow me to be a river and not a reservoir. Allow him to allow those things to flow through me that were deposited in me. And when I do that, it seems like I'm just operating freely, freely and fun. And I challenge you to do that. That's one of the things you should do in life, is always try to operate in what I call your passion wheel. When you operating in your passion wheel or your passion perimeter, life just seems to be so much easier. Things just seem to flow to you. You don't have to go out and chase it as hard. You still got to grind, as they say, but you don't have to chase it as hard. But, you ask how we can connect with us. If you have any questions, you can always call us at 225-343-1075. That's 225-343-1075. Also, you can connect with us as we're expanding some of the medias that you can connect with us. Just text the word coach. That's right, the word coach to 225-412-7300. And you'll be connecting with us via text, as well as on there. You can click on and enter your email address and stay in touch with us. When I say stay in touch with us, we have surprises for you from time to time. Some of my mentors and coaches bless me with different gifts. And if you're on my database or you're on my mailing list, you may get those. Just examples of those. One of them is a half-a-day seminar by Dr. John Maxwell, who I study under. Things such as that, or different motivational messages by guys like Les Brown. So those are just some of the things and some of the benefits of connecting with us. Once again, we ask that we allow those things to flow through us and be deposited to where it can be best utilized. So today we're going to keep in line with peas. I don't know where this lesson started at, or where this whole idea of peas in a pod of success. And I mean, that has evolved a little bit to kind of really become the peas in the pods of peak to peak living, peak to peak living. And the reason I say peak to peak living, because in life, we are growing from peak to peak, not going to, but growing to peak to peak. And that's what we should be doing. But one of the things that happens with all of us, we go through valleys, and in those valleys is where we experience probably the most pressure. So today we're really going to talk a little bit about pressure. When you look at pressure, a lot of people equate pressure to stress. I don't call them one and the same. Pressure and stress, they're cousins, but they're not the same. And what I mean by that is that a lot of times pressure is more of a choice and stress is a result of. Well, Howard, what do you mean by pressure is more of a choice? Well, pressure, when you look at pressure, it's something we choose to place ourselves in. And there's a lot of good pressures that we can have. And what I mean by that is, when I look at pressure, if you take sports, for instance, right now we're in the middle of March Madness, and the pressure of winning for these head coaches is a good thing, because that means that they've had a great season. They're being rewarded, and they're going to continue on, and the pressure is there. Is it stressful? Maybe, and probably will be for some, but for most, it is enjoyable until that loss. And then for a small time, that little mild setback, you're kind of down a little bit. So you want to stay in that zone of, how do I control the pressures that face me? Or how do I decide the pressures that face me? A lot of times in business, when you look at business, we actually plan and work in pressure. We set goals, we set aggressive goals. We've talked about goal setting. We've talked about planning. So when you talk about that, you really, you want to set aggressive goals that put you under pressure. When you do that, you're destined for good things. You're destined for great things. So You really want to put yourself under that pressure when you do that in life as well as work. When we talk about leaders in life, I believe there are two types. One is the proactive and the reactive, or the person that's being responsive versus being reactive. I often say that when you're faced with a challenge in life, you have two choices. You can react or you can respond. Reactions is typically when two things come together, it happens. Boosh, chemical reaction. But a response is planned. A nice cake, or, going away from a chemical reaction, but a nice cake is a response to someone saying, hey, I want a reward. And so that is a planned thought mixing of ingredients. Whereas if the wrong ingredients are there, it's more of a reaction or a disaster. And that's the way we are in life. We have to plan it as a leader to be proactive or be that responsive leader. The great thing about that is when you're a proactive leader, others want to follow you because there's a clear path of where you're taking them, where you're going together as a team. And I think that's real critical. When you have that vision as a leader and you put the pressure on you, but it allows the team to go with you stress free. And that's where you want to be, where you have the pressure, you're living under constant pressure by choice. It's not something that's been forced upon you. So that's one of the things you want to look at is what I call pressure by choice. You want to make sure that you are operating where you have pressure by choice. Well, let's talk about some of the benefits of actually living in pressure by choice. Number one, you have a feeling of achievement, and it strengthens your self-esteem. It helps not only your ego, but just helps your self-confidence. Number two, it'll add value to yourself and those on your team because you're always looking to grow and succeed. You're always looking to grow and succeed. That's the key thing. You're always looking to grow. And I challenge everyone every day is saying, what can I grow from? Every interaction, how can I grow from it? Every relationship, how can I grow in this relationship? How can I add value? Number four, it will continually build on past successes and you will end up loving more and more of what you do. Dr. John Maxwell, you heard me speak about him a little bit, has a book that's called Sometimes You Win and Sometimes You Learn. That's right. Sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. Well, I think that's the way we are in life. We got to learn because we're going to have those missteps, not mistakes, but missteps. We have to look at those as not roadblocks, but as detours, and then learn to enjoy the detour through the valley. Because as we talked about peak to peak living, you got to go through valleys from time to time. Not need that motivation. And what I mean by that, when you look at it, like this morning, one of the things that, every Tuesday I'm excited about the show. And I think it was about 11:30, 12 o'clock when I laid down personally. And next thing I know is 2 o'clock, 2:30, I'm waking up. Just excited about what God had in store for me today. So you don't need motivation. That pressure you put on yourself, that vision that you have for yourself will be your alarm clock. And that's what you want. You don't want to need an alarm clock. You don't want to have that alarm clock to wake you up. The other thing is you will plan to live life by your dreams and by your purpose. And when you do that, it does require, as we talked about earlier, it requires planning. You really have to plan that life by design, if you would. When you have your life by design and it happens, it's a great thing. And then when you have those hiccups, like we said, you learn small missteps, you keep moving. Number 7, you design strategies to reach those goals and maximize those resources so that the tools, the people that God has given you, you use that to maximize it because that pressure, that self-pressure. And just in case you're joining in and we're talking about pressure, you want to have that self-pressure on yourself. It's not the pressure of the world. I was in Houston last Thursday and Friday doing some training. When I say doing some training, I was actually receiving some training from a guy by the name of Howard Partridge. Howard Partridge is one of the foremost persons in the country in helping small businesses develop systems. But I stopped at a Burger King, I think a Burger King restaurant, and the guy walked up to me and he said, "Man, if I had your hands, I would throw mine away." And I just simply asked the question, "What do you mean by that?" And he said, "If I had your hands, I would throw my hands away." And what that told me, he was not living his life by design. He was frustrated with life. He had all but given up on life when he said that. And we kind of had a little debate or discussion there. I said, there's nothing you can do with my hands. He said, "How can you tell me there's nothing I can do with your hands?" I said, "Well, if you're not doing with what you want with your hands, how are you going to do anything with my hands? And then he looked at me. He said, big man, you got a point there. And I share that exchange is that, we have to accept the pressure of living life by choice, living life by design. And then the eighth benefit that I wanted to share is we will have your eyes set on your objective. It's your goal, your objective. Because, you can only live your life. No one else can live your life. And we're going to step through real quick and go through a couple things that'll help you live life with pressure, but pressure by choice. I guess we'll call it PBC. I'm an acronym nut, so we're going to call it PBC, pressure by choice. PVC is a type of pipe, and people always say pressure will bust a pipe. But I think if you are really operating in your passion and your purpose, you can handle a lot of pressure because you're designing and having pressure by choice, PBC. So steps to follow. Let's talk about it a little bit. Be proactive, not reactive. That's right. Choose to do what it is that you desire. Choose to do it. It's your choice. You have choices. The great thing about life is that you have a choice in everything. Number one, you do not have a choice of everything that happens to you, but you have a choice on how you respond. Don't react, respond. So you have a choice on how you respond to things. Aim to excel. That's right. Aim to excel. Aim to a higher level. Aim to a purpose that you desire. Don't settle for the status quo. Too many people are found guilty of not aiming high enough. I'd rather aim high and miss than aim too low and hit. So you have a choice there. The other one is see things as they can be and not as they are. And sometimes that take us stepping away. Sometimes that take needing a coach or someone to help us pull back from that exercise. I'll share a little brief story happened in our office yesterday, and one of the persons was something happening and misplaced something and going through and they were frustrated. It was just mentally they were gone for the day. And this was 9 o'clock in the morning, gone for the day already, frustrated because they could not place it. So I simply said, let's walk back through it. Let's see it from a different angle. I know I've already been through it, but as we walked through it, we identified what had happened. We saw what mistake was made, where it went. And I say that to say is that's how we have to be. We have to look at things as they can be and not as they are, but also step away sometimes and look at it from a different angle. Because when you look at things from a different angle, they appear to be different because they are different, because you're different. Pay the price to live under pressure. Yeah, living under pressure is hard work. We got to put that grind on. We got to do it. We got to have that daily grind. You can call it grind, perspiration. Sticking with the P's, you got to have that perspiration. You got to be working. You got to constantly be willing to pay that price, and the great thing about it is everybody has a different price. So don't look at someone else's price because others' journey may not seem as tough as yours, but there's a reason that you're paying the price that you're paying. When you look at diamonds, they're formed from coal, and I don't know that whole process, but they're all different because they all had different amount of pressure. And that's the way we are in life. We have different amount of pressures because we all have a different mission. We all have a different purpose. And don't close your mind to the future. When I say don't close your mind to the future, be open to new ideas. Too many times people will say old dogs cannot learn new tricks, but none of us are dogs. So, we're the only species on this earth that God gave a choice to. Everyone else, all the other species are really innate. And what I mean by that is they're programmed by what they can do. As humans, we have a choice to be the person that we were destined to be. So I challenge you to do that today, is to live under pressure, but live pressure by choice. As we always say, remember, it all starts with a thought. From a thought, it becomes actions. Our actions become habits. Our habits forms our values, and that leads us to our destiny. So hopefully this lesson has been a little helpful for you. I would love to hear from you. You can always email me, howard@teamtopchoice.com. You can also text us, text the word coach to 225-412-7300. That's a great way to connect with us. Like I said, we're going to have a lot of great surprises, not necessarily prizes, but surprises. And I like surprises better because that's compounded. Welcome back to the Top Choice Empowerment Hour. I'm your host, Howard White, and I am here today. That's right, today. Today is the only day that we have. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow technically never will come because as I like to say, at 11:59, stroke of the clock, tomorrow, which was a promise, is now given to us as today. So today matters. Do everything that we should do today and make the day count. Hey, but before I bring a guest on, I got to talk about our partners. I mean, we have eMedia. The guys over at eMedia, they do a great job in helping us promote the show and getting the word out to everyone. And, you can always reach out to them at 225-288-8100. And it just seems like we're doing everything media, Alpha Media. My partner, Todd Sterling, does a great job in video production and advertising. So if you have any of those kind of needs, he can handle that for you. The folks over at the Drum magazine, a weekly publication that is throughout Southeast Louisiana now and growing, Miss Candace Simeon. And then R&R Production, my graphics guys. So any of the looks that you see we have, those guys are typically behind it, throwing a little their magic into it, or their little sprinkling into it, if you would. And hey, I give them chicken scratch and say, hey, man, make chicken soup out of it. And they do it, because if it was up to me, we still would be doing smoke signals. Hey, but let's get in here and talk to our guest. I'm excited. There's a young lady that I met actually learning. Someone asked me earlier, you still go to training? Yes, I do. I think I'll be learning the rest of my life. And hopefully I will. But Miss Monique Piper, and I always get her maiden name messed up. So Moliere, correct? Yeah. See, I got it. So Monique, how you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, Monique is a Xavier grad, from down in New Orleans, and but she's a business coach, life coach, and she works with anyone, but really work with women and help coaching them through to. And I say through to, meaning from where they are through and to. So Monique, just if you would, just tell us a little bit about, what's your vision, what's your mission in life?
Well, my mission in life is to get the greatness of women out into the world so that they and everyone in the world can enjoy it. And I do this by clarifying their purpose. We clarify your purpose, and then we get you a plan to live your purpose.
So clarify purpose. And I think that's a very important part because, talk about what happens if you don't have clarity in life.
Well, if you don't have clarity in life, you drift. You basically drift, and you always feel as if there's something within yourself that's unfulfilled. And no one wants to go to their grave with their music in them. So this is what I do. I help to get your music out of you.
What's your song, girl? Tell me what's your song. Got to get that music out of you. And yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit, and I think a lot of times, I heard one person put it, the richest place in the world is the graveyard, because there are so many unfulfilled dreams in the graveyard. I could have, I should have, tomorrow I will, which tomorrow never comes, but talk about how do you do that? How do you help someone do that? Because a lot of times fear gets in the way.
Well, that's true. Fear holds us all back. And what's important to know is that we're all fearful. It's moving forward in your life doesn't take an absence of fear. It takes you being courageous. So what I always recommend to a person is to first start writing. And just start journaling your feelings. And if you are just totally against writing, as some people are, then start recording yourself. Start talking.
Do like Howard's doing, right?
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, that's why I'm on the radio, because I felt that God had put something into me, and hey, I wasn't sitting down journaling, so why not talk to a microphone? A lot more fun for me. And so you got to find your own means. I believe that's what you're saying. Yeah,
you have to find your own means, because we all have it. We all have a way that we can get our feelings out into the world. And when we do this and we get our feelings out, we can connect to that inner voice that's inside of us all. But a lot of times the inner voice is covered up by fear and by ought tos and should tos and, well, I could do. And so you got to get all of that out so you can look at it and say to yourself, okay, what is it that I'm called to do, drawn to do? Where is God directing me to?
So if you could give someone a tip that say, hey, I know I should be journaling, but how do I get started?
Well, what I would say, I'm going to suggest what works for me. What works for me is as soon as I wake up, I pray, I have my quiet time, and then I go on and I directly write in my journal. If I don't do it when I first get up, it probably won't happen. So I would say do it as soon as you get up.
Yeah, Monique is married and has 3 kids, so she doesn't. She has a busy day if she doesn't do it immediately. So if you thought about doing it, I mean, that's one great tip I believe is do it immediately when everyone else is still asleep. So it gives you time for that. Talk about how you got to your first book, and what I mean by that, you shared with me that you started blogging or journaling. Well, probably started journaling first.
Yes.
So talk through that process, because some of us, I won't call any names, but some of us are struggling to get our first book out. We are almost there, but still trying to finish it out. So I know there's some others out there that say, I have a book in me, I have 2 books in me, but I got to get the first one out. So let's talk about that.
Okay, well, first of all, with the book, first I started journaling, and then I started writing for an online column. And people kept saying, when is your book coming out? But I had no plans for a book. And I was really terrified by the thought. So I had no idea what to write. I'm like, who's going to listen to me? So I just started writing, and I actually started my book from my journal. I took entries out of my journal and I built a book from the entries in my journal, and I wrote every day. That's what I tell any person wanting to be a writer. Write every day. I don't care if it's for 20 minutes. Just write. It's the consistency that's going to lead you to a book.
Wow, the consistency. So consistency, constantly writing every day, consistently writing every day. And Howard White, listen, okay? Say that again for Howard White, because that's who needs to listen.
Consistently write every day.
All right, so we receive that. And if you too have a book in you, or a book waiting to be birthed, or a book waiting to break through, that is one thing you can do to consistently do, is write every day. So, tell us a little bit about your book, Dancing in the Sun. Tell us a little bit. Interesting title, normally Dancing in the Rain is what the other way around. But let's talk about that and Dancing in the Sun. Okay,
well, I'll tell you where the title comes from. The title is actually inspired by Cyndi Lauper's song, Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And she has a line in that song where she says she wants to walk in the sun. But to me, when you get your life on purpose and you're happy, all you want to do is dance. So that's what the title was inspired by. And the subtitle is Being the Authentic You, which simply means to listen to the voice within you so that you can live the life that God meant you to live. And the book has real strategies so that you can overcome the limiting beliefs that you've been acquiring your entire life. And I use colorful stories from me growing up in New Orleans in the 90s.
I think a lot of us can relate to those, and some real interesting stories. No, when you talk about that limiting beliefs, and I truly believe that, there's a lesson that we teach called You Are Perfect, because you're born perfect without any sins, without, any fears, and everything that we fear is really learned.
Yes, it is. All the fears, you pick them up from somewhere. Pick them up from somewhere. I remember reading something about a baby, and it said that if a baby can't reach his toy, and maybe a step was right there, and they could have climbed on a little step and got its toy off the dresser, but if they just decide, oh, I can't get my toy, it's hopeless, and sit there, you don't know it, but that gets embedded into you. And then going forward, when something doesn't just magically happen for you, you may sit there hopeless. So it's just funny how we learn these beliefs and don't even know they're there.
Right. I mean, they serve us well sometimes when we're young to put boundaries from danger.
Exactly.
Especially physical danger. But I think worse so is the psychological dangers that we allow those limiting beliefs to allow us to go through those barriers. I call them the terror barriers, to break through and out of our comfort zone.
Exactly. And I believe what happens really is from 0 to 18, we're not really responsible for our growth. You go to school, you learn, you naturally, learn that, okay, I can climb on this step and I won't hurt myself. And you learn those things. But after 18, we're responsible for our own growth. We're responsible for checking our beliefs and saying to ourselves, okay, does this belief still serve me, or is it disturbing my progress? And I think that's where it goes awry for all of us, because we have a responsibility to ourselves for our own growth. And like most of us, we just don't do it. And so that's what my book, Dance in the Sun, is really about. It's really about giving strategies so you can look at yourself and you can say, okay, this belief isn't serving me. Now, how do I become aware of it and change?
One of the things and I'm glad you said strategies, because I really believe you got to have the fundamental principles and then strategies to implement them, and then daily tactics, if you would, to help you realize those strategies. Let's talk about one of the strategies that you help. Someone sitting there saying, gosh, how do I get off this pedestal? How do I get off this step? Talk about one of those strategies that will help them get started.
Well, first of all, I want to talk about this saying. I think it's become an overused cliche. We talk about being confused. If we are not sure of our path, we say, oh, I'm confused. I don't know which way to go. First, let's have a shift. Let's not be confused. Let's say we're exploring. It's nothing wrong with exploring. You want to do something new. But when you attach this negative thought to I'm confused, then you are confused because you're saying you're confused. Whereas if you just shifted that one statement, therefore you would shift the thought, I'm exploring, that would be an empowered belief rather than a limiting belief. So that's one strategy that I think you can implement right now. You can, if you're someone that's sitting there saying, I'm confused, I don't know what to do, stop saying that and say I'm exploring.
So going into work today and I'm confused about what should I do. Let's take it a little deeper, as if you were working with a client there, because I think sometimes people don't really understand the value of coaching simply because they've never experienced someone walking them down the path, if you would, and holding their hand to help them. I call self-discovery, because that's amazing once a person realizes it and they're truly empowered. Let's talk about that. So I am exploring. How would you help a person walk down the path of exploration?
Well, first of all, I think it's most important to get in touch with what brings you joy. To sit there and say, what is it that brings me joy? And if you can't get to what brings me joy, get to what do I like to do? For example, for me, it was when I decided to get on this path of writing and journaling, it was because I was in a rut. And basically, I read that the only difference between a rut and a grave is the depth. So, so I thought to myself,
about 5 feet, huh?
So I thought to myself, I better get out of this quick. So what I would say is, first, sit with yourself and say, okay, what direction do I need to take? Which way do I need to go? And if you sit there, and for me, it was writing. For you, it may be singing. For you, I don't know. You have to get in touch with what brings you joy, what makes you happy. And don't think of it as a destination. Don't say, well, okay, I have to do this for the rest of my life. Take it as you're just on the path. You're just exploring. And that will lead you to something else. I would never thought I was going to write a book. Never, ever, ever. But God told me to sit, be quiet, and write. So I listened.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing as you explore that, as you're exploring, you got to make sure you're enjoying the exploration.
Yes. Because
it is a journey. There's no destination. There's only one destination.
Yes.
And that's the final destination. So all in between is really a journey. And I think too often, too many people are saying, what am I going to versus why am I going to, and what is pulling me there? Exactly. I was mentoring a college student about 2 weeks ago, and she was explaining to me that her problem with choosing a major is she wanted to make sure she would want to do that for the rest of her life. You said, we grown and I don't know if I want to do this for the rest of my life.
Exactly. And I looked at her and I said, you don't think about the rest of your life. That's too big. I can't think of the rest of my life, and that's shorter than yours. So really just focus on what brings you joy right now and direct yourself there. And don't worry about the rest. Trust that what you're supposed to do will come to you.
And I truly believe that a lot of times as we journey down this road of life, and if we're really enjoying ourselves, there are going to be people you meet that, 6 months ago, you didn't know. I didn't know you until 3 months ago. And there are a lot of other people I've met over the past 2 or 3 weeks that probably will be great friends over the future and add value to my life, and I'll try to add value to theirs. And I say that too, if you're listening out there, that's one of the things you got to do. You got to journey down this road. You got to enjoy it, but in a journey down it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's critical. So if someone want to connect with you, Monique, how would they do that?
Well, you can connect with me first from our website, which is www.moniquemolierepiper.com. And you can, if you're on Facebook.
You got to spell that, Monique. Come on now, because you got some country people from Mississippi, just like Howard White is, that can't spell. If it has more than 2 syllables. So let's slow it down just a little bit. I want to make sure that they can connect with you, and we'll be glad to pass it along. But I also like for them to be able to connect with you.
Okay, I'm going to spell it. That's Monique, Monique, Moliere, Moliere, and Piper, Piper.
Now, see, your husband probably a guy from Mississippi with that Piper name, a simple name.
Well, actually, he's from Chicago and his family's from New Orleans.
Okay. So he's northern of via south.
But they're originally from Plaquemine, so maybe that's what it is.
Okay. No, but, in all seriousness, if you want to connect with Monique, please do. And that's one of the reasons why we believe that God has given us this platform, is to bring enlightening and enriching material to you, and hopefully it will speak to you. Because one of the things that people say, well, Howard, how could you have another coach on you, coach? I said, it wasn't meant for me to speak to everyone. It wasn't meant for me to minister to everyone. The same as every church is not meant for everyone. So, and that's why you have various pastors. So I challenge you to, wherever you're at in your life, as you're looking to move forward, reach out to someone to say, hey, raise your hand. Can you help me? Because one of the fastest ways to go down this road called life is to ride with someone that's already been. What do you think about that? Is that what you try to do, is help them, show them the way and help them uncover the way?
Yes. What I say all the time is I'm still on the journey. We're all still on the journey. But if you want to learn from someone that's been through a few things and can give you strategies on how to pull through, then I might be for you.
Hey, that's a great way to look at it. And we're going to go to a brief music break, and we're going to come right back and wrap up. And I'm going to ask Monique to chime in on some of the things that we were wrapping up. Normally it's a monologue, but when I got someone else in, I'd rather hear their voice than just hear mine. So we'll be right back shortly. Welcome back to the Top Choice Empowerment Hour. I'm your host, Howard White, and I'm here with Miss Monique Piper. And we're in the final stretch. As they say, we're in the final stretch, the last 10 minutes of the show. And funny how time flies when you're having fun. And that's what we've been doing. But more so, with us having fun, it's more about really enlightening and empowering others. And I think, Monique, I definitely glad you came on. And hopefully someone listening today is saying, that makes sense. And let me go out and see this as a journey. So we're going to talk a little bit about, this last segment. I normally go into what am I reading and some things I've been working from. I told you last week I had a chance to spend 2 days in a training / workshop. And I told my buddy that attended with me, it wasn't a seminar. It was a workshop, because we actually worked on referral marketing and developing a marketing plan in those couple of days. But one of the things that really resonated with me, and Monique, I want you to chime in as we talk about this, is, when you're really in business, the key to it is adding value to other people.
Yes.
I think that's really the key, adding value and saying, who can I help?
Yes, exactly. When you are looking to be in business, I first thought of that you have to look for the space where you can add value. Don't look for how can I make money. Look for how can I add value? How is my service or product really improving this person's life, inconvenience or whatever?
Yeah, I remember it was a quote, or as Bishop Joseph Walker said, a tweetable, in which if you ever listen to his sermon, he always does a tweetable. And it was, you can't be of value unless you're valuable.
Exactly.
So you got to make yourself valuable. A couple real blocks I want to give you in how to develop those valuable long-term relationships. And I'm going to give you a brief scriptures to go with them. Number one, you must be considerate. From Proverbs 19:22, friendliness bears fruit for a man. I mean, you got to be considerate. Must be confidential.
Exactly.
Confidential? What you mean confidential, Howard? Whoa, that's contrary. No, it's not. No, a true friend, a person of value, is a person that you can come to in confidence. And I think that's, as a coach, that's one of the most important parts of being a coach.
Yes, it is. You can't, when you come to me, that you know that this is a conversation between you and I. It's not going to go to your mom or your friend or your husband or your wife.
Right. And that's real important. I mean, very critical. You got to be candid, as a coach or as a friend, as a partner. And you got to be able to be candid with people.
Exactly.
And sometimes being candid may bruise you a little bit, but, it's one of those soft wounds, I say, that heals and makes you stronger. And there are ways to be candid without cutting with a deep gash. You got to be constructive. Proverbs 27 tells us, as iron sharpens iron, so a friend shapes a friend.
Yes.
And I think that is, very critical in all our relationships. We want to be constructive without tearing down people. You got to be consistent. People got to know what they expect, because a lot of times that's one thing that makes people fearful of coming to you if you're inconsistent.
Exactly.
Which Howard am I going to get today? I never want that to be said. I always wanted to be is the same friendly Howard that no matter what he has going on, he's willing to listen and hopefully share value. And I think that's real critical.
And the way to do that is to focus on the person in front of you and not yourself.
Yes. I said, what is it? God give you how many ears?
2 ears.
1 mouth.
1 mouth.
And what? You should do what? Use it proportionally.
Listen twice as much as you talk.
Because when's the last time someone said, man, you listen too much? You ever told your husband that?
No. And I don't think I ever will.
I haven't even met him and I'm getting in trouble with my brother. And then the other one is you have to be committed. Some friendships don't last, but some friends are more loyal than brothers. And I truly believe that. I often say, God gave us our family because he knew that we needed each other. He allows us to choose our friends. So therefore we can truly enjoy. And sometimes in our family life, that is the case. But no, you have to be committed. When you say you're going to be there, you got to be there. And I'll be glad to send that to you. All of those are from Proverbs. It's the book that if you study it, it really teaches you a lot. And as we were talking about holding true to the component of this segment, what am I reading? One of the books that I refer to a lot, especially when I'm speaking or just, looking for a word for myself, is the Maxwell Leadership Bible. No, it's not a different spin. It's the King James Version, but it actually takes the scripture and give you some proven leadership principles from the Bible, because really everything that we need to help us get through this life is in the Bible. And as the Bible tells us, we need to seek counsel to help us understand it and help us implement it. I think that's the key part.
Yes. I know when I was young, my mother told me anything I wanted to know about life, I could find it in the Bible. And it wasn't until I got a little older that I actually listened.
And that's a very true statement. And I can say ditto if my mom's listening. She told me that more than once. I'm a real slow learner. So, but now I, live by it and hopefully, share that with others. And so, as you look at it and you go through this journey, remember that it's all in that one tool. But the Maxwell Leadership Bible is a great Bible if you're in any leadership role, just looking for the nuggets or just looking for a different way to look at things that's in the scripture. I think it will give you that and, help you hopefully develop your team. Well, it's almost that time. And as we get ready to get out of here, I wanted to say thanks for sharing with me. Monique, any parting words for the masses?
Well, today I want you to go out and be on purpose. And that means doing everything to your fullest capability, whether you like it or not.
That girl, you set me up. I mean, that's a phrase that we use. Do what you know and not what you feel. because sometimes in life, you just got to do what you know and not what you feel. And according to Miss Piper, you got to live on purpose. And I totally agree. Thanks for coming on. We look forward to having you back on again and just sharing with you and hopefully, growing together. I mean, I say growing together, working to enrich lives here in Baton Rouge and throughout the world.
Yes.
Well, you've been listening to the Top Choice Empowerment Hour. Like I said, it has been a blazing 60 minutes. I've enjoyed here with you. Hopefully we've enlightened and empowered you just a little bit. And if we've done that, then I think God has utilized us well in these last 60 minutes. So until next week, you can stay connected with us simply by emailing us if you have a challenge, Howard at Team Top Choice, or you can hit us up at teamtopchoice.com or our Facebook page, Team Top Choice. So it's all about a team. As you can see, there's a theme. It's about a team. Once again, have a great week. And remember, be the best that you can be because you can only be the best you.
You've made the top choice. Like Howard on Facebook at Team Top Choice and receive more tips that will help increase your productivity. And remember,